Pelicans, not per Shams, not even per Woj. According to intrepid reporter Caron Butler, the Nets will be without Spencer Dinwiddie for the next 4 to 6 weeks due to a torn ligament in his finger. Ooh, so what does that do to the Eastern Conference standings that we look at here, where, okay, we thought for a while we had 1 through 5 locked up. The order certainly could shuffle, but now the Pacers are without their best player for the rest of the year, and the Nets are without arguably their most important player, even with D'Angelo Russell playing out of his mind. Dinwiddie has been a key cog off the bench. We thought maybe with Oladipo, could the Nets slide into the top 5? But now without Dinwiddie, man, oh man. Chris Haynes, all this injury news, obviously Oladipo is the biggest of this news. Here's the question. Mike Conley was rumored to be on the radar for the Pacers. I'm sure there will be other rumors as well. But if you're the Pacers, how does last night's injury to Oladipo affect what you were going to do leading up to the trade deadline 2 weeks from today?
Look, I think they definitely have to look at the trade deadline more aggressively than prior, if they haven't been doing so thus far. With Oladipo being out, man, they really have to scheme and strategize on both ends of the floor in a different manner.
Chris, let me ask you about that, though, because sorry to interrupt you. You know, when you factor in that Oladipo adding in Conley, potentially, hypothetically here, you're now thinking that's a team that could challenge anybody else in the Eastern Conference with the way Sabonis and Miles Turner and Thaddeus Young have been playing. That's a great core. But without Oladipo and what it's going to take to get a guy like Conley, is it worth it to make that deal now since he's hurt?
I don't know if it's worth it to make that deal, but I think they have to get some insurances at that position. They have to make sure they're solidified in that spot, because you look at what they're doing, man, they're having a great season. And I know you mentioned Brooklyn as well. You know, they're supposed to be in the thick of things right now. And with that injury, which is a devastating injury for Oladipo, I text him back and forth. He's in good spirits. And it's going to be a situation where Indiana, they have the resolve. They have the locker room of that team. You know, they're going to persevere. But if they seriously want to make some noise in the playoffs and get to that next step, they're going to have to get some assurance. And that's just the simple fact of the matter is.
How do you feel about getting scooped by Caron Butler on the Dinwiddie news?
From Fruit Juice himself, man.
Fruit Juice? You better put some respect on Tough Juice's name.
Man, look, I say this, man. You know, every time, this league is already competitive from a breaking news standpoint. we don't need any more. Come on, Fruit. Like, come on. That's unnecessary.
You better call him Tough Juice. That man will get to you. 10 before tip number 3. Trending!
We're in first place. I feel like I deserve to be there just because of our performance the last 5 years at the top of the standings. It's not easy. I don't know how many times it's ever been done. So if I don't make it, it's not the end of the world. I'll go to a beach and enjoy myself.
New look Warriors, new look 10 before tip. Look at this. 2 best friends together, but I got to stay in the middle of them. Chris Haynes and now Anthony Slater joining us live from D.C., writing for The Athletic, covering the Golden State Warriors, who have an 8-game win streak. They're in D.C. tonight. All right, fellas, let's do this. Now that we've seen DeMarcus Cousins for a couple of games play in a Warriors uniform, are we confident that it's the Warriors, or would you still be willing to bet a couple of shekels, Anthony Slater, on the field to win the championship this year?
What are the odds? I mean, if it's just 50-50, you got to go Warriors. I probably would have leaned towards Warriors before we've seen Cousins, and I've hiked that up even higher. I mean, I think just his threes, even if he can't, he's kind of looked a little bit, rusty trying to get to the rim in isolation post-up situations. But he hit 3 threes in his first game, which is the most by a Warrior starting center since 2010. And just that aspect of it, plus the rebounding that he helps them out, it's just taken them to another level that they really didn't even need to go to for us to probably pick them over the field.
Well, I think right now I'm gonna have to go with the Golden State Warriors as well. Look, I agree with Slate in the regard that DeMarcus, he doesn't have his all-around game as of right now. Inside, outside, he's not that player right now. But outside, he has that outside jump shot, man. And look, I'm gonna tell you right now, if the Warriors are healthy going into the postseason, 100% healthy, I'm taking the Warriors and I'm taking them big. And in big, I mean I think they can sweep through the entire Western Conference field. Like, I just don't think there's really a threat out there if this team is going to that postseason healthy.
Well, Slater, that's interesting. Do you think that there is a team out there right now? Last year at this time, we were talking about how the Warriors were looking at a lot more tape of the Celtics, thinking they would make it to the NBA Finals. Is there a team that this team thinks could give them a push in the series?
I don't think they're afraid of Denver, who, is right now the only team close to them really in the standings. I think the Thunder interest them in a standpoint of the Thunder plays a type of playoff basketball that might give them trouble. They're lengthy. They got, Paul George to go, guard multiple of their guys, especially Kevin Durant mostly for a series. They would probably have to get Robertson back and looking healthy because, you could put him on Clay. Obviously, Westbrook has his own dynamic, and then Steven Adams is a bruiser in the paint. I think that's part of the reason why it's good that they got Cousins back. They can have him go up against a guy like Steven Adams. So from the West, I would say that team, that Thunder team, if they were playing at their optimal level, especially defensively, would maybe scare them the most in the West. But I actually think their biggest challengers are out East.
Chris, what about LeBron? Should he scare the Warriors?
He can't scare them right now. Not sitting down, and definitely not with the roster that they have. Look, they're not ready. We all knew the Lakers were going to be playing this type of basketball. But look, when you're talking about the Lakers and Warriors potentially having a rivalry, you got to think about next season and beyond. Like this, is that DA back there?
There's somebody trying to break into our camera time. I remember that guy. He used to be on this show. That's Hall of Famer.
Look, that's what I'm talking about, man. I was just about to spit some knowledge. I forgot what I was going to say, and DA come and ruin everything.
You got flustered. That's what happened to you. Hey, speaking of getting flustered, Slater, Steve Kerr, sometimes it feels like he likes to cook up some drama to get his team refocused. They've won 8 in a row. They have DeMarcus Cousins. We have forgotten about the fight between Draymond Green and Kevin Durant. What will Steve Kerr try and nitpick? Because we all know sometimes management likes to nitpick on you a little bit about things. What's he going to point out that maybe his team isn't doing perfect?
Well, he directed his anger towards Jordan Bell the other night, right? That was it's not nearly as viral because of who's involved. Jordan Bell's kind of out of the rotation, but he lit into his second year forward, and it was caught on national TV, and it was kind of a little mini story around the team the last couple of days. I think there's a little bit of frustration. Jordan's maybe taking a step back in year 2. So right now it's kind of more towards like the mop-up duty crew than the regular starters, because what he's loved, and he mentioned this the other day, their turnovers are very low during this win streak. I think Draymond Green particularly has like a 72 assists, 10 turnovers over an 8-game stretch, and they're averaging only about 10 or 11. And if you keep that down, you keep Steve Kerr happy.
And that's the goal, right? We used to do that around here at Turner Sports. We always kept Steve Kerr happy, and hopefully you're happy, Anthony Slater. Good to have you back on the program. There he is,
Very
Anthony
happy
Slater,
to be back with you guys.
writing for The Athletic, covering the Dubs. We'll have more from Chris Haynes. We're fortunate for that. Steven Adams trying to make it a 4th straight win tonight. We've got a doubleheader coming up on TNT tonight. We'll get you set for that with our pregame show coming up at the top of the hour. At 10 before tip, stat stuffer on a man who is making not only a push for Defensive Player of the Year, not only a push for MVP, but a spot on the All-NBA squad as well. Paul George having himself an absolute monster career year. His 27 points per game is great. During the 3-game win streak, he scored 30 in each of the 3, averaging nearly 33 points per game. A man who covers the Oklahoma City Thunder on a daily basis is Eric Horn. Let's take you around the NBA to Oklahoma City, where tonight Eric will watch the Thunder take on the Pelicans on League Pass. Paul George, he is playing absolute out of his mind basketball right now, the best of his career. What would you say is more important to the Thunder right now, that Paul George wins Defensive Player of the Year or MVP, or is that just an obvious question?
I actually think it's Defensive Player of the Year. This Thunder team is in a good streak in terms of being able to shoot the ball well. Terrence Ferguson's played really well in the past 7 games or so. Paul George playing out of his mind, like you said, since the beginning of December. If it wasn't for James Harden, he'd be the guy who'd be getting more of the publicity and the conversation in the MVP race. But they're built on the back of their defense. They've been the league's top defense all season, except for the last couple of weeks where they've had some slippage. Paul George leading the league in loose balls recovered, deflections, second in steals to Russell Westbrook. He's really been the backbone of their defense, even with Andre Robertson not with the team this entire season. Almost a year now since Robertson's been gone, and the defense has actually gotten better, and Paul George is a big reason because of that.
Eric, I know you've been around this team for several years now, but I need you to play sports psychologist for me, as we all do on television, radio, and in newspapers. Why is Russell Westbrook even angrier than he usually is?
I think that's a misconception. I think actually in the past month or so, I would probably thinking back to the Sacramento game where they went to Sacramento, he's actually been in a pretty solid mood with us in the media. But look, if you're shooting free throws at below 70%, if you're not getting foul calls, which Russell Westbrook believes he's not getting certain foul calls, Thunder believes so as well. When you're struggling from the field like he has been all season, there are going to be some times where he's going to be a little bit frustrated. But I think we've seen maybe in the last 10 games or so, he's probably had some more consistent offensive performances. His mid-range jump shots looked a lot better. Defenses are starting to sag off of him big time. We've seen Portland do that twice in 2 meetings this year, and Russell Westbrook's got to take advantage and be able to hit that free throw range jump shot. He's still creating for his teammates at a very high rate, leading the league in assists with 11 assists a game, pulling down rebounds like he always does, one of the best rebounding guards we've ever seen. I actually think he's in a pretty decent mood, Jared, considering the Thunder's winning games. He's doing some extra things besides his shooting to help them win games, but he's got to get better. I mean, when playoff time comes, he's going to have to be a more efficient shooter. There's no question.
Just as long as your colleague doesn't ask about his poor free throw shooting or plus free throw shooting, then he's fine.
Yeah. Just don't talk about the free throws, and we'll be all right. That's basically what it is.
Eric Horn talking about the Thunder, writing for the Oklahoman Thunder Pelicans on League Pass tonight. Thanks, Eric. Give you a status update for this 4-game Thursday night. Tonight we've learned that Damian Lillard, with that hand he's been battling, will play, but no Nikola Mirotic tonight. Could be an absolute fireworks show for the Oklahoma City Thunder offense tonight. No Anthony Davis, obviously, as well. Ayton out for a second straight game. Will Rajon Rondo return? Still waiting to hear. That's the late game against the Timberwolves on TNT tonight. And LeBron James remains out tonight for a 15th consecutive game. Woo! Look at these Western Conference standings as I walk right by and into the screen here. Look at what is happening here. That battle for the 8th spot. This, I'm telling you, whether it's these two teams or other teams getting into the mix or teams dropping, this is coming right down to the wire. We're going to the middle of April on this one. Chris Haynes back with us, senior NBA writer for Yahoo Sports. What's your take here on what's happening with the Lakers right now at this point in the season?
I mean, this is something that we've seen a lot of. You know, when you look at LeBron James and his career with teams, when he sits out, the teams struggle. We know the reason why. Also, the Lakers is a young squad. They're still trying to learn and still trying to learn how to play the game. And Luke Walton is still trying to implement his system. So this was we expected this. What we didn't expect is that LeBron James would be out this long and get it to a point where the Lakers are outside the top 8 right now. So, you know, when LeBron James gets back, I expect him to climb in there. I think if he plays, he comes back relatively soon, plays the rest of the season, I think they're in the top 8, but they're definitely in that lower tier.
At 5-9 right now, even though they've got some bad losses of those 9 with LeBron out, they have some impressive wins as well. Does it seem like LeBron is watching and surveying and saying, okay, well, we haven't bottomed out yet, so I still have some more time that I can buy because it's not like we're out of the race with me out of the lineup?
No, for sure. And you know, I spoke with his agent, Rich Paul, the other day. And, you know, he said the same thing. He's been stressing over the last couple weeks that they're not going to rush LeBron James. And I will say this, like, LeBron is not, you know, he doesn't sit back and just sit back and say, hey, man, I'm going to just wait till I get back. Like, he's pressing to get back. He doesn't want – he's a guy who's really fixated on his legacy. He doesn't want to be on a team that doesn't make the playoffs. And so, but right now he's able to buy his time. And look, Lonzo Ball being out, that's going to hurt as far as the backcourt is concerned. And so he's itching to get back out there. But, you know, he still has a lot of time to make up some ground. And like I said, he's LeBron James. When he's healthy, you know, his teams typically do well.
And when you're healthy, we do well. Chris Haynes, senior NBA writer for Yahoo Sports.
I like that.
Appreciate you doing right by us. We'll check in with Chris again next week. We'll check in with Otto Porter when we come back. Wizards have won 4 out of 5, just 2 out in the loss column of the 8th spot in the East.